I'm co-host James Ash.
And I'm co-host Phil Scaife.
Welcome to the Business Lockdown. Welcome to today's Business Lockdown, Mr. Steve Trister. Steve helps businesses become more confident and impactful. So leaders, entrepreneurs, individuals and teams become more confident and impactful in terms of speaking. So welcome to the Business Lockdown, Steve. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
Yeah, good to have you here, Steve.
What's up, Phil?
Phil, you and I have different experiences of knowing Steve. Is that right? I remember if I'm led to believe.
Yeah, so Steve and I, we were neighbours in our offices, weren't we? Pretty much. That's how we sort of like first bumped into each other. I could hear you delivering with confidence through the wall. I'm tapping away on a spreadsheet, and you're empowering your clients, and then so we struck up a friendship from there. I was interested to know how you guys know each other.
Steve, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was FEO, wasn't it? For entrepreneurs only. Was that amazing network of entrepreneurs in the East Riding of Yorkshire area or the Hull and Humber area, that kind of stuff? There's no other organisation like it in the UK. Phenomenal, and I think that's where we met through that. And it was the values of that organisation about supporting and giving to business owners was brilliant. And and that's where I met you.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a testament with FEO that we've had Jan Brumby on, who's the who's chairperson of FEO, and Martin Lauer, who's a member, Matt Das, Jonathan Elvidge, Christina McHugh, Colin McHugh, so amongst others. So it's an awesome group that we certainly benefited from being, and that's where we met. And I was also lucky to be in one of your sessions that you ran for FEO. So that was, which I remember. You don't realise, Phil, how many times you use the word until you do a session with Steve. You think I'm great in front of people. I can talk. I've got loads of confidence. I'm loud, and then quickly you realise there's a lot more to it than just being loud and confident. And so, based on that, Steve, tell us what you do. Give us insight in our audience what you do and how you do that.
So the kind of headline is I help small business owners and entrepreneurs and senior leaders become more confident, increase their impact, and become more influential, even if it's 1% more every single time that they speak. So broadly speaking, it's an improvement and enhancement in speaking skills. Now, that could be recorded on video. That could be live on a Zoom call, as obviously at the times they are now, a lot more stuff's happening on Zoom like we are now. It could be face-to-face in a small presentation, or it could be to a massive audience. The thing is, the speaking skills that I shared, they're always going to be the same. You just end up hitting them at different points on the scale. Right. Depending on what the environment is.
So do you have like a typical client then that comes to you, or is it quite broad?
No, I've worked with a broad range of clients over the years, from the CMO of a $50 billion American company right down to a one-man band accountant. But like at the moment, I'm typically working with small business owners who have a team from between 3 to say 8 or 9 people. They want to grow the business, and they realize that they're going to have to be the face of it, and they want to be the face, but they just haven't had any formal training on public speaking or virtual speaking or presentation skills or speaking skills in general. They don't know how to record a video or stagecraft or anything like that. So that's the type of people that are coming to me at the moment right now. And I like working with business owners like that, because they've got skin in the game. They've got a desire to be seen. And a lot of them, they don't necessarily want to be seen. They know they have to. So it's working through that stuff as well. So typically between 3 to 8 or 9 team size. And what they've done is they've kind of delegated a lot of the day-to-day running of the business. And now it's time for them to go, right, now I can work on actually building the business and the marketing and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm straight away going down a rabbit hole with this. See, you deal with business owners, and you've already identified your niche, that 3 to 8, which and you're within there. 2 questions. Firstly, communication with clients, old, new, potential, and communication with team members, with employees. Is that the same thing or is it different? That's the first question.
Yes.
And the second one is, you deal with business owners predominantly. Do you deal with employees as well as business owners? And if so, is that different for you? You talked about buy-in and skin in the game. So I'm just interested to know how that plays out. So
yeah. So let's talk about the first question. So for me, it's not different if they're talking to clients and potential clients or their team. I mean, it shouldn't be. Invariably, based upon people, how much they really know themselves and how much they're willing to share of themselves, either vulnerability or authenticity. Some people have a very different persona when they talk to clients and potential clients than when they do to their teams. And it's about getting more of a balance with that and actually having them bring their awareness into assessing, actually, am I different? Because I know a lot of people are. And I feel like you should just be as authentic you are with your teams, with your clients and potential clients. So sometimes it's about them being way more confident with their clients and potential clients because they're confident with their team, or it could be more empathetic with their clients and potential clients because they are very empathetic with their team. So it's about getting that balance right. And some people, are naturally themselves with both. And I think nowadays in business, that, I know the words bounded around a lot, authenticity and just being real. It's so important. That for me is the most powerful currency we have in these times right now. Just the realness, just open. And because we're human, because, we feel that with other people, the energy, that emotion, whatever, that's what really connects us rather than a salesy thing or whatever, and the sales tactics or I'm not a huge fan of NLP personally. When somebody is themselves and they rock up like that, we feel it. And so it's about a lot of the work, and I don't pitch it as this, as we navigate through stuff. And I find out, so why aren't you really connecting emotionally with that? I need to see more feeling. And I go, I don't know. And then we dive down a little rabbit hole with that. If they give me the option and they're open, you start going back to shit that maybe happened at school or childhood. And I say, could that be the reason why you've shut down emotionally? Or could that be the reason why you're not opening up to clients or this or that? And then they go, oh yeah. And I say, well, how long have you let that be a thing to stop you from just communicating in a really impactful way? They said like 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. And even just an awareness of that can shift things very quickly.
Yeah.
So, and then when it comes to, so the second question about, do I work with some of the teams? A lot of the times when I work with the business owners, they say, my team needs this. They speak to clients or they speak to each other. They need this. What can you do? So a lot of times I will do a group training over a period of time. Now, sometimes that's face-to-face. Sometimes it's online, but the group training is powerful too, because that ends up being a team bonding exercise. They go through the trenches together, because a lot of the time the work is, I get them to film themselves and watch it back. I do that with the business owners. They already know. A lot of people find that hellish, which I understand why, but it's a very important part of people being able to assess themselves technically and not get emotionally involved. Because, when the emotions come into play, things go haywire, people just shut down and away we go. So it's very powerful with the team stuff, but more often than not, the business owner has to go through it themselves before they say, now I get the value in this as well. Because it's not just about the speaking skills. I'm a big fan of personal development. There's a lot of personal development work that goes with that. And that hits varying degrees depending on how willing the person is to go there.
Yeah. And I guess it's same with a few things in this sort of like area. It's like an iceberg, isn't it? What you're seeing is not what you're going to be dealing with when you properly get into it.
Yes. Yes. Very, very true.
Yeah.
I love that, working with an individual as well, because it seems like if you go in and your selling point is, I'm going to make you be this person and this person, and you sell that to everybody, it's almost an impossible task, right? Because yes, you can go in and you can pretty much promise that you will progress people and they will come away more confident. But if working on people being original and being themselves, which is important. Now, not everybody is going to be a loud, confident speaker, but essentially, can they be really controlled and showing loads of empathy and, as you said, lots of patience and very calm that can resonate with a certain audience.
Yeah.
That's that. I love that as well. It's not trying to make someone that they're not. I remember we were at an FEO event and this guy came up at the end and he'd been watching me and he had a notepad and he'd been clearly making notes and he was just like, how I've been watching you. How do you do that and that and your energy and stuff? And he was ready to make notes, and I just went, mate, be yourself. Like, there'll be stuff that you do that I'm crap at, that I can't do. Yeah. Stay in your lane and be better at who you are and what you do. And is that essentially the core of when you're working with people?
Yeah, that's really, really important, because I know how I am as a person. I can come across as very energetic, very emotionally connected. And yet when I'm working with accountants, I know a lot of them, they're not naturally like that, right? Because they're very cerebral, logical, not necessarily in their emotions a lot of the time. And that's their gift. So it's about getting them to use the tools in a way that enhances wherever they're at. And I say to people, I don't care whether you improve 1% or 90%, as long as you're improving, as long as you're consistently implementing the tools over a period of time. Then it's down to the individual how much they do that, right? So it's that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And you can give it a go, but that's not fair, because and because clients are very different. Obviously, you've got similar personality types. Some people take longer to process and learn, and some people just lap it all up and they implement very quickly. So depending on their personality types, I would say, right, well, give this a go now, or give this a go. And for some people, there's just a few of the tools that make a massive difference in where they are, and they're not ready to consume some of the other stuff as well. Some of the more, say, advanced, maybe storytelling or the emotional stuff as well. I'm interested in where they are now. Are they improving? And some people you can tell are ready to go the big jump, and some people aren't. And it's about having that awareness and being able to be perceptive with that as well. And because everyone is very different.
Yeah. So,
Phil?
So how do most people find you, before I go on to what I was going to say? What's, is it like a word of mouth, a Facebook, emails, a TV campaign?
Not TV campaign. No, I don't. I think TV's dying out, so I wouldn't be focusing on the adverts on there. I think so. It's a mixture of videos I put out on LinkedIn, referrals, word of mouth. I get repeat clients or clients that have been at a company or a business and moved to another one as well. Yeah. And then I'm going to start doing some Facebook advertising and maybe some LinkedIn advertising as well. But it's pretty much the organic way so far.
Yeah. So that said, when people contact you, what's the thing you hear the most that has triggered them to go, Steve, I've seen your video and I need you? What's the problem that they're looking to solve, or the trigger that they're going through that you hear of that might resonate in some of our audience and go, oh yeah, this might be applicable to me because I'm feeling the same. What is that?
Yes. So a lot of them say, Steve, I now need to be the face, or get out there and put my business out there and market it more, but I haven't got the first clue where to start. Plus, I think I'm really boring.
Is that right?
Yeah, because they don't know. They think I'm really boring. They've never filmed themselves and watch it back, or they're too scared to put themselves out there. That's a very common one, and which I completely understand if they've not done much of it before, and they want some backing and support. And some people have done it, but they're putting stuff out there, and whether that's even speaking at an event or putting videos out there, but they know they're okay, but they want to be really good.
Yeah.
They feel it. They know because they can see other people getting a different reaction with the audience, and they're kind of, I know I can be better as well. So intuitively like that. And some people have an immediate need. They go, Steve, I'm speaking at an event in 2 months. I've never had any support. Like, can you support me? I'm like, well, let's have a chat and see what that looks like. So they've got a speaking gig coming up, and we specifically work on the content for that. And my thing is, I don't write content for people. I don't focus on content. I'm all about the how you deliver the message. So you come to me with the message in that sense, if you've got a gig, and then we'll bring it to life and bring it off the page.
Yeah. So you're not the expert in the industry, and you're not pretending to be. You're the expert of the personal development that gets you from where you are to on that stage.
Yeah, how they deliver their message. Yeah, the speaking skills, the craft of the performance. Because I was a professional comedy actor for well over a decade. So I'm very grateful that I had the chance to perform in stages where there was my professional debut at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Professional debut, 6 months after coming out of drama school. We had 2 people in the audience. Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
That's character building right there. Dude, that is character building.
My God, 2 people. One was our director, who was near the back row. I think he was sleeping. And the other one was a reviewer from the bloody Scotsman newspaper, the biggest newspaper, on our debut. Are you kidding? So we got through that. We managed to get one little line. She slated everyone else from the rest. She was just having a bad month. And so 24 shows in 25 days. I did that a couple of times. So you get to learn at different stages, performing over Europe. And so it's all about the craft of the performance, right?
Yeah.
And looking at, like, when you do a video, or you do a virtual conference, or a face-to-face presentation, or a gig, is actually going, what does it truly take to engage another human being? And a lot of people, they don't ask that. And I don't expect them to, but a lot of people get caught in their head, and they've got this, the egoic, the unsupportive voice. You're fat. You sound like an idiot. No one's going to want to listen to you. Who are you to do this? Or what you're going to have for dinner? Now, all this kind of stuff that comes up is unsupported. So the ego and the unsupportive voice. And a lot of people have that. And when that comes up, I say to my clients, I say, all right, what I want you to do is ask 2 really important questions. So let's take for example, someone thinks, I'm not good enough. Right? So they've got this I'm not good enough thing. And that's a very common thing for a lot of people in different areas of their lives. I'm talking about speaking skills and getting up in front of people or recording a video. So I say, when that thought comes in, so you've got to be able to be aware of your thoughts. When that thought comes in, you've got to ask this question to the thought. Is that true? And the ego, the unsupportive voice goes, yeah, straight away, you're not good enough. And then the next one is really important. Don't believe that voice, because that voice for me is not the truth of who we are. Absolutely not. So there's a lot of conditioning going on with that voice. The second question is this: where's the evidence? The voice, the egoic voice, unsupported voice goes, evidence. No evidence. And then you go, ha! So you're talking shit. So that's rubbish saying I'm not good. I am good enough. Now, every now and then, the voice might come back and go, the evidence? Yeah. Remember when you were 6 and you stood up in English class and you stuttered your way through that poem? Everyone laughed at you. Yeah, that's why you're not good enough. And some people go, you're right. But look, and now you're 30 or 35 or whatever. And that's what I was saying about before, is that a lot of people let that one event when they were a child impact the rest of their entire professional life. That's insane. And I get there's other things that are really painful for people, but even then, are we willing to look at truly where the resistance comes from and why that's happening? A lot of times people actually, even just the thought process of going, that's where it was. I was a kid then. I didn't know any better. That's rubbish. Of course I'm good enough. Or they feel more neutral about it. And I say, put the ego to side and go to the we go. So the we go, that's where the magic is, because what the we go does is it takes you and I out of our head, out of this headspace. And if you're in there, you cannot be connected to your feeling part, your heart, your emotions, that kind of stuff. And then what it does, it takes you out of your head and puts you into the present moment. And when you are in the present moment communicating, you've got a much greater chance of connecting with your audience, connecting with them, having them come on the journey with you, that dance between the energy with you and your audience. And that is where the real magic is. And I tell you something, you cannot be in your ego and be in your we-go at the same time, because they are 2 completely different ways of being. And sometimes that concept alone, I've seen a number of my clients that has been transformational for them, because they've been so caught in their own head. And when they realize it's actually not about them, it's about their audience, they can just breathe, and it takes all of the pressure off themselves.
Yeah. Wait. I mean, we're talking about transformation, from a very major blockage into being free almost. Do you What comes to mind if you're asked sort of like your proudest moments in your professional career?
Ooh, proudest moments. There was one lady, and she won't mind me saying her name. Her name's Tracy Monday. And back in 2011, I went into an organization, a corporate, and I trained, I think it was about 90 salespeople over 4 months. And I have never, ever met somebody who's so resistant to the training. She was like, I hate this. I'm not going to enjoy it. And I just thought, I said, you don't have to stay. Like, genuinely, I felt really empathetic for her. She was scared. This lady is now one of my biggest supporters to this day. The transformation in the way she expressed herself, how she showed up to the plate, and just, it was like she looked the same, but it was like a completely different person. Like, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So that's one. There's another guy called Mark Wickersham, who used to be an accountant. He's now a global professional speaker, and he does a lot of coaching and training online. He wasn't good at all. He was boring, and he knows it. And I did
he does now.
some very intensive one-to-one work with him on some videos, some speaking gigs. And after our work, that's when his career as a global professional speaker took off. Is highly sought after, and so that's good. And then I worked with. So he was a small business owner at the time, and then, working with the CMO of a massive corporate like that, getting her ready to open to, I think it was 9,000 people in the audience live, and then nearly 100,000 online. That process, and I did that 2 years in a row. That was in Vegas.
Right.
So yeah, and then there's just to even see, even not huge transformations, but just to see people's confidence and self-belief increase, that they now feel like they can do it, and then they do it more consistent. That for me, you can't put a price on creating a space for somebody to increase their confidence and self-belief. That is, for me, in the journey of being a human being, when we don't have confidence and self-belief, it keeps us small and it stops us from doing a lot of things, versus when we can. And when we do have that, the whole world is open to us.
Yeah.
It's amazing in my experience that often when you're working with people who are in front of the camera and they're not used to being in front of the camera, and you often say, look, it's not recorded, so you're trying to instill confidence and alleviate any anxiety they might have. And you say, look, it's not recorded, we can do it again, don't worry about it, no one's watching. And you see them, it's that kind of 2 or 3 times to get it right. And the amount of times that especially if it's a bit of a longer piece that they're speaking about, that they're talking in front of camera. And I only mean that by, like, if it's maybe a minute or something, and you see them, and it's so much where they'll talk, and you see them that they know they're nailing it, they know they're getting it right, and you can see self-sabotage, and then they mess it up, and you have to go. You knew, like, I spotted you then, like, oh, I knew I was getting it right, and then I kind of got nervous, and that put me, and you're like, whoa, and it's that self-sabotage, and that really resonates what you were saying there, about those voices.
Yeah, and that's a great example of being present and in the we go, and then all of a sudden getting caught in the unsupported voice. Great. So when you're in flow, you don't think about anything about being and sharing and connecting and living the message and tasting whatever you're sharing. And all of a sudden you go, oh, I'm being filmed. I wonder what I look like. I wonder what I sound like. Oh my God, that's a camera. That's not a real person. Perfect. The minute you go into your head like that, now, the more you kind of are able to assess yourself and do the work with the speaking skill stuff that I shared, the more you can have a little version of yourself, maybe 3 to 5% sitting on your shoulder or in your mind going, all right, just increase your energy a little bit more. You kind of drop your energy a bit. Now, make sure you feel the words or honor the words more, or make sure you be aware of your gestures here. You learn to have that faculty, but that takes time. That takes cultivating, right? Rather than it being, you look like an idiot, because that's when I do a video, I'm doing it to engage the audience, for the audience. I'm, at some level, there's, a positive thing for me in there. Maybe I'll get a client, maybe I'll do this along the way, but that's not my main reason for doing it. But it's okay. whatever medium I'm using, I'm thinking, how can I really engage the audience with this? And when you have like radical caring about the audience, you come to it at a totally different angle, rather than just going, oh, I need to get this content out and I've got this amount of content and I've only got this amount of time, so I'm going to speak really, really, really fast, or I'm going to just do it because I want to get off. But that's all focused on the self. And that's not truly how the skills work.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And I think we've all sat in audiences where we know that the person up there is not delivering for us, they're delivering for themselves, be it the paycheck, the time limitation, the lack of content, the lack of whatever it might be. You feel it, don't you? You know.
Yes. And how does it make you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you in my experience, it's when I've got these tickets to these seminars, and I know full well that the people up there are all there for the paycheck, and I'm up there for the growth and the learning, and there's a disconnect straight away. Yeah,
there's a lot of those seminars around, and there's also but there's also a lot of good stuff too. And it's you feel it straight away. It's not even I'm not sure. You just know.
Yeah.
Steve, you spoke about working with businesses who like have three to eight, teams of 3 to 8, and you're seeing that now as a niche. What was the journey to there? I mean, if you can give us some backstory on who you thought might be a customer, and you went to that, or did you just cast your net out and see what would happen? You know, what has that been a real kind of like over the last 3 years you've been testing and discovering, and now you know, or how does that look? Because a lot of people, a lot of our audience will be like, right, I'm not sure who I am, or I do know who I am, but I'm not sure who my customer is.
Yeah.
And then what is that process, and how long does that take? Or I'm going to go and target this customer, and then nothing happens, and you're like, right, okay, but you decided before you actually tested. I mean, what does that process look like?
Dude, it's been fucking nuts for me. It's been totally haphazard with no focus whatsoever.
Steve, I want an honest answer.
wait. So were we talking about authenticity?
Yeah, I've. It's not even a net. I've had a net, a shovel. I've had a pickaxe. I've had like a strimmer, a chainsaw. Like, so the thing with me, like, because I was an actor before I went into the business world, right? So it was a case of, it first started out, I joined an online networking organization, which had a face-to-face thing called Academy back in the day. It was like before LinkedIn and anything like that, run by Thomas and Penny Power. And I joined their level of Black Star. I didn't even have a business. And after I started going to these face-to-face meetings and events, I then quickly realized I was losing the will to live talking to people. And I said to some of my acquaintances, look, they're boring the crap out of me. I said, how about if I did 3 sessions for 2 people? I said, I want to just test this out. I'll be like your director. We'll do some stuff. We'll film it, watch it back and see what you think. And I was earning 250 quid a week at the time, selling advertising space on the front of a CD that went on a wedding magazine. Soul destroying. And I said to them, the sessions went really well, by the way. And I said, how much would you pay for that? They said 150 quid. And I fainted. I didn't faint. I was like, what? And that's when I realized there's an opportunity. But those were small business owners. And then as time went on, that's 90 salespeople was a company that my dad worked for at the time. And then I was in the networking thing, and then I worked with more small business owners, and then some corporate stuff happened, and then so Cisco was a massive client of mine for 4 years, and that arrived because I saw one of the senior people speak at Social Media Week. They were the only corporate there. She was getting trashed on the Twitter live stream, which was harsh. I then sent her a message and said something, at least, look, your dress looks nice, at least come from behind the lectern so we can see that, or, it was nice, supportive, whatever. And then we private message. I offered a free session for her. Then she said, can you do a free session for my boss? And then that became a massive client of mine for 4 years. So that was the corporate side. So there was no like proper focus.
Right.
Literally, as we are filming this video. So I've been doing this since 2007. I have engaged with a business mentor where we are getting super focused on the people I want to work with. 2007, I started this work. What year is it now? 20. Like, so, but the thing, do you know what it was? Is for a long time, I felt like I've had to do everything myself, and also not letting go, not being in control. And I know for a fact I'm not a pure blood entrepreneur. I have entrepreneurial tendencies, right? I can't work for anyone. I have no interest in working for anyone else. So getting that supporting is really important for me now. And we've just recently thought, okay, so that's one avatar, like the small business owners with 3 to 8 people, 9 people, that kind of stuff. Would I work also with some senior execs in corporates? Of course, if they're the right fit as well. Yeah. But I love working with small business owners because I'm a small business owner, and supporting the economy. You guys are small business owners as well. It's like we're the lifeblood of the UK and the business. So I've had no strategy up until very recently.
Yeah,
and I highly recommend it because it's so much.
So is that something you wish you'd done earlier with getting a bit of strategy? Framework.
No, that to me that's kind of like, do you regret not doing that earlier? And I just trust the journey. I trust the divine timing of that, and go, you know what? No, because if I do that, I'm going to start making myself feel shit. Oh, how much money have you lost? How much like I don't know. All I know is that for me, the past, it don't exist anymore. I'm in the present moment like that, and I'm doing it now. So I'm getting more clarity now. That for me is a good thing. Yeah. So yeah, I don't wish I'd done it before.
Yeah. So on the back of that, then have you now got a mission? Where are you going? Where are you aiming for?
This is a great question. Okay. I didn't think I was going to talk about this on the podcast, but you've bloody made me do it, you bastards. So recently I posted a video on LinkedIn, and I was absolutely crapping my pants about doing it. And I put a post out and saying, have you ever been so scared to post something? You know you have to, but you're really scared for being judged, ridiculed, and laughed at. And that post got quite a bit of interaction. And this accountant client of mine who I love, Cole Roberts, it was so boring before we started. He knows that. And he's a super implementer, and he's really come on now. He just commented, Steve, remember the we go? And I went, oh yeah, you bastard. He's turned it on me.
What you preach, right?
He's done it. Yeah, he's done a Trister on me. I've been Tristered by someone else. And so it's like, okay. And what that was is, because of the whole lockdown thing over the last 6 months, I feel like it's made me question life a lot. I don't know about you guys. It's just like, what's important with all this craziness going around. And one of the things that has been very important to me is my spirituality. And so from the age of 17 to 21, I dived into a lot of that. And I dived into a lot of like really heavy woo-woo stuff. And so I was a trance medium for 4 years where I connected with the spirit world. For me, it's very real. For some people, it might be a load of rubbish. It doesn't matter. I don't care. And so I did a lot of that work. And then I tuned into it over the years, shut it off, did some public events maybe 7-8 years ago in London that went really well. So now when you ask me what my mission is, I came out with that video, got a load of support. I'm sure a load of people were freaked out by it and thought I'm a loon. But that's okay. I've had that my whole life anyway. That's fine. I'm a West Ham fan. Of course I'm a loon. So now when you say, what is my mission? My mission is helping like small business owners, and maybe this is going to evolve over the time, but also to connect inwardly. So it's that inner communication, that connection to themselves, deepening that, making sure it's real, and then be able to share their message in a way that is authentic to them, that is really powerful, that is really engaging to another human being, and that can potentially change lives in a big, big way. But again, at the time of filming this podcast with you, I only put that video out a couple of weeks ago. So it actually has to do with accepting all parts of myself and showing up in the world and sharing that, rather than compartmentalizing. If I'm doing this, I can't do that. Or if I'm doing this, I can't do that. And I struggled with that. I struggled with that a lot of my life. But it's now going, how do I now weave that in together? And, that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm working on at the moment. And we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen with that. who knows? But I think what I do love is the inner journey of people connecting more to themselves and not searching outside themselves all the time for answers, for validation, for this kind of stuff. Because from my own personal experience, and especially when I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat in 2012, it was Vipassana, one of the hardest and most rewarding things I've ever done. I got to know myself a lot more. And I think a lot of the human journey, too many of us are constantly searching outside rather than stopping, being still and going within. And I really like the idea of creating a space for business owners to do that, because I know there's a lot of fulfillment in that as well.
Yeah.
Love that. It's interesting that you've become more focused with your business, and then you've opened up this new, well, no, it's not even a new side. I guess you've just kind of re-released this side of you, and it does sound like that is, you're just casting your net out once again. So it's like, it's interesting. You're way more control and focused, and you've got a vision in this area. Whereas like this now, you're just going, right, I now need to do this, and I'm just going to see what happens there. So it seems like you've got a real nice kind of like mix and balance between structure. I wonder, and how much do you think, Steve, that is a result of now being more structured and focused? You know, is there something there that, right, I'm more structured and focused now, but I need this kind of freedom, this discovery in a great sense. You know, how much do you think that's in play, or absolutely nothing to do with each other? Is that a part of you that if you're harnessed in one area, you still need that freedom in another?
It's a great question. And I feel like the things that are popping into my head are two things. I hit 40 on June the 18th and I went, what are you doing? You need to sort your shit out. And, you know, that kind of stuff. I'm married as well. And it's like, okay, you know, what you're doing with your life. So that was a bit of a kick up the arse. I've also been doing some pretty deep inner healing work on stuff that I needed to work on. And that was very, very powerful for me. So those two combinations have allowed me to get very focused, and then also allow the spiritual side and that kind of stuff to pop up as well. And see, with that kind of stuff, it's interesting that I'm going to go with the flow with that, because whenever I've gone with the flow with that stuff, it's always worked out for the best, you know. But I also know, with regard to having a business, you need structure, you need to know who you're working with, you need to have containers and all that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of grounded 3D side that I need support on, you know, from somebody who has, you know, 3 different coaching businesses and knows what they're doing as well, you know. So it's having that balance, because I can be away with the fairies or up and around if I don't ground myself, you know, and I don't have like someone being real with me and saying, no, you need to sort this shit out, mate. You know, and that's good. But you know, the big thing is that being willing to be helped and ask for help. I think a lot of business owners, small business owners, just go on and they struggle because they don't know where their help is. They don't want to ask for help. They're too proud or whatever that is. And I think that's really important, to ask for help and get help.
Yeah. And I think also in the small business world, a community of suffering develops where, you know, it's like, oh, I'm really struggling. I'm doing 60, 70, 80 hours weeks and this like that. I'm not seeing my kids. And like, yeah, me too. You know, I'm self-employed doing this. I've got that. And all of a sudden, the ways out sort of close off because you're surrounded by people who are reinforcing it. And it becomes a community of just like, and then it needs someone external to come in and go, no. It doesn't have to be like that.
Yes, that's a great point, Phil. And I'm fortunate that I haven't had that kind of community of suffering. I kind of just suffered on my own for a bit. And, but it's I think that is very dangerous, to surround us and look around and see if everyone else is suffering like you are. You've got to get out of Dodge and then find someone who's doing the thing you want to do, or that you respect, that has a different perspective. That's very powerful. And that's why I thought FEO was so phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. You know, it's just because you've got people who are super successful, who have been there, done it, and got the t-shirt, who just genuinely wanted to help. And I think that's priceless, that kind of support.
Yeah.
Who's your hero, Steve?
My hero?
Yes.
Just anyone?
Yeah. Who's the first person that springs to mind?
Wow. Do you know the first person who springs to mind? Peter Sellers, Inspector Clouseau. Dude, you know, because I was a comedy actor for so many years, and this guy suffered though. Like in his personal, like he suffered. He was, oh my God, I think he was an alcoholic, or he died young. But this guy was such a genius in entertaining people and engaging an audience, and he created one of the funniest characters for me that has ever been created. Inspector Clouseau, just absolute genius. What a light he brought to the world. You know what I mean? He really, really did. Now, when I was acting, I was doing character comedy as well. So I have a lot of respect for what he did with that. And shot in the dark, he sits on the bed. He takes his fountain pen out when he's got a lady next to him, and he taps on his mouth like this, and he goes, and he breathes in the ink, and it's all in his mouth. Dude, literally, I saw that for the first time. I rolled off the couch screaming with laughter. I think I nearly wet myself. I was tears of stress. I don't know why that came to mind, but he came to mind. I just love what he brought to the world. So much joy, so much laughter, so much positivity, even though he was suffering himself. Same, Robin Williams, who would have thought, that kind of stuff. So I think no matter what we do, what industry we're in, if we can bring some kind of positivity, no matter what we're doing, in positivity, joy, inspiration, whatever like that, even if it's just with one person, I think that's really important, especially with the times we're going through right now. I think it's very easy to get caught up in the negativity and all that kind of stuff. I think staying in our own lane and doing our thing, whatever our thing is, I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Well, my kind of sign-off question was going to be like, what piece of advice could you offer our audience? And you've just basically nailed it without saying it's just like that positivity. I was just sat there going, that's brilliant. I was just like, yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, what a positive way to sign off the episode. I mean, like, I'm sure Phil's the same as me. We're thinking, yeah, we'd love Steve to work with our team. That comes up, it'd be great to help out with. And I'm pretty sure most of our audience, most of our listeners and viewers of this will be like thinking or knowing that it's almost like a bit of, I'm sure with many it seem like a bit of a safety net, that if I've got something that's high pressured in terms of speaking, that's always something to approach you with. And just knowing that you're there to offer value and to support people must be amazing. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of your clients, just knowing that they've worked with you and they've got you at the end of a phone and on a video call, if something major comes up, I'm sure that's just so supportive. It's awesome. We could talk for ages. There's loads of questions. I've been very controlled on this episode. I've been sat thinking, right, no, I'll leave that to another time. But Steve, it's amazing talking with you. I mean, where can people find you? So, have you got a website, your socials?
No, they can't. Nowhere. I've gone underground. No, of course. So I've got a website which is very simple. It's my name, stevetrister.com. That's the same as my Twitter, and you can type in Steve Trister on LinkedIn. I'm on there too. I'm pretty active on there as well. And then my online course is thespeakingrevolution.com. If people like self-taught stuff.
Love that. Awesome. Love that. Well, we'd love to have you back as long as you'll accept our invitation in the very near future.
Sure,
that'd be awesome. Yeah, and I just know that our audience will have taken a lot of value from this, and certainly expect a few messages through just asking more, because it's like a Pandora's box with you, Steve. Just like, okay, well, because there's so many things, and you think, God, what does that look like, or even how much, how long would that take? Or so, yeah, awesome, mate, to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks, guys, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Cheers. Bye. Thank you so much for joining us on the Business Lockdown.
Please comment, like, share, and subscribe to help build our global community.
We look forward to seeing you all soon.